Welcome back to my channel, everybody. Thank you for coming back again and again, those of you who are subscribed, and thank you those of you who are new. Today I've decided I wanted to go ahead and do an unboxing. I've never used this product before. Today it's the Black Diamond Revolt. Something that really intrigued me. I was actually in the market for a new headlamp. I figured, although I already have one, there were a couple things I didn't like about the one I had, and I also thought to myself, what's better than to have two headlamps, you know? So I think if there's anything good in life, you should have two of it, you know? So I bought myself this headlamp. So honestly, a little bit skeptical. I've read mixed reviews. I couldn't find anything else on YouTube that was really about this specific model that had all the specs. So I'm sure there's other reviews out there, but to my understanding, you know, this is the first time somebody's reviewing this specific headlamp. Now, I'm trying to keep this a clear and concise review, so I'm not going to go into a ton of detail. I'm just going to give some initial thoughts and hopefully even get some footage of testing this headlamp later in the video. Let's just do a quick rundown of exactly what it is and then take it out of the package and get a closer look. So this is the Black Diamond Revolt. It's 350 lumens. I can't really tell you just how bright that is. I know it is pretty bright. There were other headlamps that just didn't fill the bill, that didn't have what I was looking for. This was the one. I was really hoping for a 400 lumens, but this one had the dual fuel, which is one of my favorite things about this headlamp. So it says dual fuel here, rechargeable or AAA batteries. So that's one thing that I was right away sold, because as I'll get into a little later, not every headlamp is dual fuel. A lot of headlamps on the market today are charged by USB, and so that's fine and dandy. But you get up on the mountain and you're away from your car, or you're away from a place you're staying that has electricity, and so you cannot use that USB function. And headlamps, you know, they're not going to last more than a couple days of use, you know, hard use, 2 or 3 hard days of use generally, especially on the brighter settings. So rechargeable really perked my interest. It looks like it charges with a charging cord or with batteries. That was immediately one of the things that I was looking for, and one of the things that separated this headlamp from other headlamps. And next is stormproof. So it says stormproof. Don't really know exactly what they meant by IPX4. But that was the second thing that sold me on this headlamp. There were other headlamps. I believe Black Diamond actually manufactures a headlamp called the Storm, which is probably more reputable for being resistant to a ton of water. But stormproof, you know, that means this should be able to handle substantial rains and, you know, whatever little bit of water happens to get on this headlamp. Let's hope so. And then rechargeable. So that being said, you know, there's a few more specs on the top. There's some specs on the back. It tells you about the time you can have it on max, which is still a lot of time, and low, and then some of the other. Oh, and by the way, this is another really interesting thing that sold me on this headlamp. This has, where does it say it? I believe it has memory dimming, so, and I don't know exactly how that works actually, but basically, like, you can turn it off at a certain dimness or brightness, and then when you turn it back on, it will still be at that same brightness. Now, other headlamps will not do that. You turn it off and then you turn it back on, and it goes back to the brightest setting. So let's take a look at this headlamp. I'm going to try to keep the packaging pretty good. It's just a plastic box, but still, because if I've come to find that this just doesn't work, like supposedly some people say it doesn't recharge, or it can't pull juice out of the batteries, or the durable housing, supposedly, durable housing is not actually that durable. If I find that out, I've got my receipt and I won't hesitate to take this back, because what I paid for this, I'm really expecting high performance out of this product. So we'll just open that box there. Okay, so immediately it's going to have a plastic tray, very simple. We'll set that aside, we've already seen it, and we'll get closer into the headlamp itself. So then there's the charging cord. Okay, we'll point out a couple differences here in a second. I'm going to compare and contrast with another headlamp. I've got the charging cord. Really simple micro USB, it looks like, the same that you'd charge an Android phone or anything like that. So it's great that it includes one of these. This is just a really short one, but you could probably use any cord with these outputs, etc. And then here's where you're really going to be able to pick the brain of this headlamp and get into details about it, is in this instruction manual. As far as, like, supposedly I really think there is a memory function which I'm interested in using. That's really good for hunting and other things, but I'll look at that later. Let's just take a look at the actual headlamp itself, find some initial thoughts and feelings on this headlamp itself. I like the way they packaged this one. It's looks like it's really just going to, come out of the package. You didn't really even damage the packaging at all. I didn't have to use the razor blade at all. So, initial thoughts on this headlamp. Actually, it's really exciting to first get this headlamp and feel it. So it looks like it says remove this part. Let's see, that's just a piece of plastic for show, I suppose. And now let's first review the clicking, the little function it does there. So it's just got, seems really simple. It seems pretty durable. Okay, so let's review the strap next. I guess they did say something about this being an athletic strap. Some people said they were running with this headlamp. That probably would work just fine, and I might even try that later tonight. But I can see some spots where you could, get some air in there. So, and then this also seems to really, I'm not going to adjust it right now because maybe it's just where it needs to be, but you can adjust that, of course. So let's see out of the box. There's two buttons on top. One button is going to have three little hashes, it looks like, on this circle. That's a circular button, and then it's got a lock signal there. So I don't know what all of that is supposed to mean. We'll try that out in a second. I did read a review. There was only a couple reviews on Amazon that when I was looking at, I thought I found this specific one, and it was about these parts right here. So like the battery housing, and then the covering that covers where the plug, where your charging cord plugs in. So let's take a look at that. It doesn't seem too terribly bad. So let's say you pull it out of the way, plug it in, and then put it back. I have seen covers like this. It really reminds me of a cover for a charging cord on a cheap cell phone. I think if you were careful with that, though, you could make it last. Somebody just said they had a problem with that tearing off, but maybe they were being careless. Let's actually practice. So we'll just take the cord here, move that out of the way, and plug that in. Maybe. Okay. So I'm actually, I'll work more with that later and see how that works. But actually, I'm wondering if, yeah, we'll take a look at that later. It might already have a defect there, but so that's that. And then secondly, they were talking about the battery housing here, which I guess you supposedly have to push that tab in and then open that up, which they're making it a little bit difficult to do that, which is not a bad thing. But let's take a look at it, if we can manage that. Hang on just a second. Okay, I got it. It's actually a really secure hatch there, and it looks like it's going to be on this hinge. Remove before use, so we're going to want to remove that. Okay, so interesting. Here's the battery pack. Okay, so here's what's interesting I find about this headlamp. You're going to need to use rechargeable batteries to use the recharge function with the USB cord. Okay, so that's still not a big deal. You can keep this in your pack, maybe even use rechargeable batteries. I think some people might have had issues trying to do that. But here's the battery pack. You can see it in there, just a lithium battery, which you could take out and put 3 AAAs. But then when that closes, that's a really secure close. And actually this housing feels pretty darn tough. The hinge, honestly, it looked like maybe it wouldn't be very tough, but it's got some weight to it, and I think that plastic is actually pretty thick. So let's take a look now. Actually, I wanted to talk a little bit. So I've also got headlamp I've been using. This happens to be the Amazon bestseller. This is a Bushnell. This is a 400 lumens. Very, very durable housing on this one. Very, very solid hinge there. It does not function dual fuel at all. Doesn't run that, but it does do the rechargeable thing. And this one being 400 lumens at its brightest. So really durable, great headlamp. But is this headlamp as good or better than that headlamp? So let's take a look. Let's try to turn it on. And it's bright. I can tell you, I think, so that's the strobe now. I think the Bushnell's obviously still brighter at 400 lumens. But this one, I never intended to like signal aircraft with or anything ridiculous. But alright, so there's another smaller light, and there's the red light. So that actually, navigation is pretty easy. It looks like you can navigate between the 3 lights just by using that smaller button. Or, just use the main light just by using that larger button. So it makes, let's take a look here. Interesting. You can't use that smaller button until after you've turned it on, unless I've somehow locked it. Maybe I've locked it, but oh, I see. So what you do, let's take a look. Turn it on. You can lock it into one. Well, let's do it this way, and then lock it. Hang on. Yeah, so I feel like you can set the, maybe that's what they were talking about with the dimness. So if I go like this, no. I don't know, but I'll have to mess with it more. But this is an interesting headlamp. Obviously there's a lot more to be said about this headlamp. Right now it looks like it's actually running About 2/3 battery. There's 3 indicators there. But I'm really excited about this headlamp. Like I said, the housing actually feels pretty cool. It's maybe a little heavier. I'm not going to take them both out and weigh them, but I'd say the Black Diamond is a little heavier than the Bushnell. But this Black Diamond will run dual fuel, where the Bushnell was only USB charged, which was my biggest concern. And then also, I'd say rainproof, and they're both rainproof, but rainproof and then dual fuel is probably why I bought this headlamp. But hopefully you'll see more videos with this specific headlamp getting some use. And take care, guys.